Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. I'm trying to look at my screen and my notes and everything. I do take notes, by the way. I know you guys think, oh, he's just willy-nilly in this. I got notes. I got things I want to talk about. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about stuff I heard. Okay. Um, so this past week, I mentioned on the last podcast how someone that my wife works with, a guy named Rich, was in the Marine Corps, used to fly Super Stallions, the big giant helicopters, Sea Stallions. Um, they're pretty impressive. They're like Airwolf on steroids. They can carry tanks and they can do all kind of crazy stuff. And he and I seem to be into some of the similar type shows. My wife will go to work and she'll tell him about some of the stuff I'm watching, and then he'll talk about some of the stuff he's watching. And he's like, "Oh, tell Josh he needs to watch this." So one of the recommendations he had was a movie called The Guilty. I think last time I said it was called Guilty. It's The Guilty. It's got the word "the" in front of it. So, The Guilty is Jake Gyllenhaal, and you can tell while watching this that this was filmed during COVID, during the pandemic. He is on the screen for the majority of the time. This is, to me, very smart, the way they did the show, because you have actors that are isolated, you have voice actors like calling in, because Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm not listen, if you're going to watch the movie, watch the movie. I'm going to spoil it right here. Jake Gyllenhaal is a 911 operator. And apparently he is filling in as a 911 operator because as a police officer, he is on suspension for doing something. And you're not sure what until the end. And he is filling in as a 911 operator, and he's trying to help people and he's trying to do the right thing. And someone calls in, this lady calls in, and she's in a panic because she's sort of relaying to him that she's been kidnapped. Crazy scenario, right? So he's answering the call and she's being very, I guess, secretive, not secretive. She's using interesting speak, almost like she doesn't want the person who's kidnapped her to know that she's talking to him. Giving coded messages and stuff like that. And he's like, "Who do you think he's talking to? Your daughter?" "Yes, yes, sweetie, I love you too." Stuff like that. Interesting, very interesting. So right away, like as the viewer, you're sucked into the fact that this guy is the operator and he's the one that's taking the call and he's trying to help this girl, and he doesn't know anything. So he starts doing his police work, trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, they're in Los Angeles and there's all these wildfires going on, and police force are stretched in all directions trying to save people from the fires and from just craziness that's going on because everybody's trying to flee the fires. And meanwhile, he's trying to pinpoint where this woman is to see if he can help her. And he does some extra police work to figure out, from calling different people, that the ex-husband's been arrested a couple of times for, separate things. And at a certain point, he gets the woman's home phone number, and she mentions the fact that their daughter is home by herself, or at home with their son. So he calls the house, and the little girl answers the phone, and she's got to be 8, maybe 7, maybe. She answers the phone, and she's talking to him, and she's trying to tell him how she misses her mom and how she's scared, and that her little brother, something about her brother. And he's like, "Wait, what?" And come to find out, the little brother is like a baby. Okay. And so right away, like he's asking questions and sort of leads up to the discussion of the fact that the little brother is perhaps dead and that it's maybe the dad's fault. So he goes into this panic of thinking, "Oh my God, we got to get this guy." And so he finds the guy's cell phone number through his police work, and he calls the guy on the phone. He's talking to the guy, and the guy is Ethan Hawke, is the actor, which is great because like in this, like one of the call-in guys was Bill Burr, which I love Bill Burr, but he's the perfect aggravated fella calling into 911 about some kind of complaint. And Ethan Hawke is supposedly the dad in this scenario, and you're thinking for most of the movie, you're thinking he's the bad guy. They did such a good job with this movie. Holy crap. Again, if you want to watch it, don't listen to this part. Like skip ahead, hit that little fast forward button, just beep, 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 beep on forward. So check this out. The woman is crazy and she has killed the baby. She's killed the baby, and the dude is trying to take her to the psychiatric ward because he is scared that, I mean, he loves her, but he doesn't know what to do. So he's trying to take her to a psychiatric ward to get help or something, because he's beside himself of what to do. she starts talking about something about the baby in a pit of snakes or something like that. And I'm like, what? The, I knew watching the previews for this thing that it was going to make me have the heebie-jeebies. But this is done really well. Jake Gyllenhaal owns the camera. He owns the scene. He has taken upon himself to be sort of like Will Smith in I Am Legend or Tom Hanks in Castaway. You see Jake Gyllenhaal for 99% of the movie, just him. And you're watching him go through emotions and trying to figure out what's going on and talking to these people and panicking. And he's got some stuff going on in his personal life where you find out later that he's apparently shot someone, a kid, and he's guilty for doing so. There's a great line in it where one of his bosses within the 911 center comes up to him, and he's breaking down, he's crying, and he's trying to help, and I think at this point he has helped, and she sees all this, and she says, sometimes broken people help broken people. And I was like, that's the tagline for the whole movie. Sometimes broken people can help broken people. That's the tagline for life. Listen, we're all broken. We're all broken in different ways. We've all had things fail us. We've all had people fail us. We've all had our ideas and hopes and dreams turn sideways sometimes on its heels and go, you're not meant to go that direction. You're meant to go this other direction. There's a slogan that I've heard growing up that, don't worry, God's got it. It's in God's hands. Don't worry. God will handle it. It's part of God's plan. Okay, so what plan? How do we determine that? How do we know? We don't know. We have no idea. And none of that makes sense until you're older. Now, I told my kids growing up, I said, listen, I questioned everything growing up. I questioned everything. And for a while, I felt like I lost my faith. But at a certain point in my life, I had faith again. And I couldn't explain it. I said to them that everybody finds faith their own way, and that it's important that you find it in your own way, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything. It could be a forewarning of things from people that you love. Hang on. I got a message. I just got a message. I just got a message. I just got a message. Wonder who it's from. Shout out to Blue's Clues. But yeah, it doesn't mean anything until you come to the realization yourself. It's sort of like the idea of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and feed him for life. Okay, I can tell you that you need to find salvation. I can tell you that you need to have faith. I can tell you that, hey, this paint is wet. Don't touch this paint. But you're not going to learn it until you touch the paint and go, it's paint. Don't touch that. It's hot. Really? It's hot. Yeah. Yeah. So in life, there are lessons that you learn through going through the bumps and bruises along the way. Sometimes you have someone close to you that gets hurt and you go, I didn't even think about that. That's something that I didn't even think was going to harm me, but it did my buddy, and I need to pay attention to that, or my loved one, or whatever the situation is. So if you guys have paid attention to me at all within the last year, you've seen me go through quite an ordeal where I got baling wire in my eyeball, and it's a year later. And maybe from listening to me, you thought along the way, hey, perhaps I should have some safety goggles on when I'm doing this dangerous thing. And maybe it saved some of you from getting hurt. Maybe that was God's will. Maybe me getting hurt was God's will. Maybe it was all part of a perfect plan of, hey, let's let this one guy weather through this storm so that everybody else can watch him go through this storm and go, ooh, that looked like it was awful. Yeah, I'm going to avoid that problem and do this other thing. Maybe we're all broken in special ways. And because of that, we can all pay attention to one another when we have the wisdom, when we get old enough and we know to pay attention, that we need each other. We need each other's brokenness. We need each other's support, each other's love, each other's kind words at times, each other's understanding at times. None of us are perfect. I'm a trainer at work. I teach people all the time how to do supposedly the right thing. But I tell them all the time, listen, I make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. But I hopefully learn from my mistakes along the way and try not to repeat them. And that's all we can basically ask anybody to do. You're going to go through some things, and it's going to be hard. And you may or may not make the right choice. Hopefully you will. But if you don't, okay, let's learn from it and let's move forward. So thank you, Rich, for the suggestion. The Guilty was something else. If you guys want to watch it, it's on Netflix. It's really, really done well. I can't get over how powerful Jake Gyllenhaal is on camera just by himself. You get sort of an image of that in Source Code. Again, another sleeper hit from, in my opinion. Go watch Source Code. It is so good. This is so good. Okay. Let's talk about Only Murders in the Building. Now, I talked about it a little bit last week, but the grand finale has come out. So if you've not seen Only Murders in the Building, go watch it on Hulu. I know Hulu sucks with the stupid commercials. Why would they pay? Why would people make you pay money for a subscription to some kind of media source and then also have commercials? I wouldn't pay for this. Thank you, Charles, for allowing us to use your password, by the way, because I wouldn't pay for this service. I do like this show. Now, Only Murders in the Building is Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Very brilliantly done. Tina Fey is also a character on the show, just little side character. But the show is incredible. The show is funny. It is mysterious. Every episode kind of spins you on your heels in a different direction and makes you go, wait, I thought I knew what was going on. Amy Ryan's in it. She's from The Office. You guys may remember her. She was the love interest of Michael. Surprising character. I thought she was dead. She's not dead. Turns out that she's a pivotal character to the end. I'm not going to reveal what happens. I'm actually going to say you need to watch it. It is set up so that it could be episode upon episode upon season. They are living in the Arcadia in New York, which is a very busy, high-end apartment residential type place. And with what's going on with the final episode, literally the show can go in all kinds of directions. The most brilliant part of the entire show is that they're doing a podcast about it on the show, and then other people are doing podcasts about their podcast. This is so meta and so genius in so many ways, and I hope that someone gives them the praise they deserve. I think the show was created originally by Dan Hoffman and Stephen Martin, and Steve Martin and Dan Hoffman, I guess, are writing buddies. They co-wrote it, they co-produced it from the beginning, and then of course Steve Martin's Martin Short is his best friend, and of course he's on board. And Selena Gomez, my wife was doing a little research. She goes, "Did I hear in the news she had something going on?" And she looked it up, and apparently Selena Gomez has lupus and has had a kidney transplant and has had some horrible health things that's gone on from it. And she's great in this. In the beginning, I kept thinking, why is she so different than the two guys? The two guys are just over the top hilarious, and she's not. And I realized they did that because she has secrets that come out later, and you'll see what I mean. And I think that even with what we've seen so far, she has more secrets that we haven't seen. I think her character is done this way for a reason. Very, very good. Very good. There's good acting. There's good cinematography. There's good storyline. There's good everything. I wish that it was on Netflix because I hate the commercials. But also good for them because listen, you hope for good things with good people, and I like these guys, and so great. It's awesome. Now, last little show I want to promote and talk about. This is sort of a sleeper hit in my opinion because I don't know a lot of people who are watching it except me and like all of their followers on social media. Katie Sackhoff is the lead character of a show called Another Life 2. Now, you guys may know Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan on The Mandalorian. She was in this last season. She's going to be huge in the next season. And she is a busy woman right now. She is like the sci-fi woman for lots of shows. She was in Pitch Black with Vin Diesel. She's been in, what was it? Some other sci-fi show that I didn't watch. But I keep seeing her on different sci-fi things where she pops up and I'm like, oh, look, it's Katie Sackhoff. I love her. She's awesome. Now, this Another Life, it's called. This is season 2 that's come out. Okay. They're only about 30 minutes long per episode. To me, this is a modern day version of Star Trek. Now, just hear me out. Star Trek was ahead of its time. Star Trek introduced characters and people that looked different and acted different than anything we'd seen before. You got to imagine when Star Trek came out, they were introducing characters who didn't look like people. I mean, they had aliens on board that were serving as part of the crew. They had people with different skin colors. They had people like literally like they were some of the first one of the first shows to actually have smart, intelligent black characters and Chinese characters playing lead roles. And this is similar in a way. We have an openly gay person on the show. We have a transgendered person on the show. And listen, I know that nowadays I've said how it seems like it's almost forced the way that a lot of shows are trying to have a character of every demographic represented, but they do this well. They don't address the issue with sidelining the story. The story is the story. The story is science fiction, and the story is exploration and finding out what's going on. And there's a thing on their planet they call the God, what do they call it? It's not a beacon. It's not a pod. It's a not an obelisk. It's a thing. It's a structure. It's a what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank. It's okay. It's this giant thing that's on there that's on Earth, and apparently aliens come out of it and communicate with people. And at times, this door opens and people can go inside of it, and they're trying to figure out: is this good? Is this bad? What does this mean for us? And meanwhile, they're on a deep space mission to hopefully try to find a more habitable place because they're worried about the Earth dying at a certain point. And so they're in deep space, and she is the lead commander of a ship. And there is an AI that she interacts with that is really fascinating the way they've done that. There is lots of problems that happen along the way, lots of turns and twists and crazy stuff that goes on. And the best and most important thing that they did in season 2 was they branched out and had more interactions with other species of aliens that they couldn't quite understand and fought back in a way that was imaginative. The show is very imaginative. And to me, this show could be the next Star Trek. This show could be like a launching point for more really crazy stuff to happen. I mean, it's so I didn't appreciate it until the end of the second season. That's how good it is. Like it's the first season I was like, okay, I kind of see what they're doing. Okay. But the show really didn't have legs for me until the second season. About halfway through the second season, you're like, oh, dude, this opens up new avenues for all kinds of crazy stuff. Especially when she interacts with the other alien species. There's so much that goes on. So much. And they could take it in so many different directions. It's not centered around a ship per se. I mean, they do have a ship, but it's not like the Starship Enterprise, and it's not like the Millennium Falcon. But this is cool. It's very cool. So I recommend it. There are parts of it that are sort of soap opera-ish with storylines, but it doesn't sway far while swinging right back into and this also affects everything else. There's a lot of science in it that is way over my head that they talk about, and I've learned to just go with it. If they say, hey, we need to do this because of that and this and the other, oh, we also need to adjust this, I'm like, sounds like smart people figured that out. Cool. I'm glad you guys know that. Thanks for letting me watch your show. Hi. Big fan. Um, so to the writers and creators of Another Life, I really enjoy your show. I am so glad that you cast Katie Sackhoff to play the lead. She owns the screen. There is no problem understanding that she is the lead character in this show. None whatsoever. With a lead woman character, you need someone like her, and you nailed it. Nailed it. I mean, nailed it. It's a good show. So that's the stuff I've watched. I wanted to share that with you guys. I know sometimes I get on here and I have stuff to talk about. Sometimes I have nothing to talk about and I just ramble. And I know that, but I'm trying to share with you what's going on with me and hopefully make you realize that what's going on with you is normal. because I'm not perfect. I got a lot of weird stuff going on in my head and in my life and with the people that I love and the people that are close to me. And sometimes none of it makes any sense. Sometimes I feel like I got it all figured out and I don't. Um, and that's okay because I think everybody's in the same boat. I just recently replaced all of the floodlights around my house with these motion sensor LED lights. It's kind of neat. I saw them on Amazon. They got the 3 lights that can contour to different directions, and the motion sensor thing can be set to different degrees and all kinds of craziness. But what I had up before was just puny. I mean, I'll be honest. I know the evolution of light bulbs have changed a lot, but we've been in this house 14 years, and I've never had to change out one of these floodlights. And they came with 2, like each corner of the house had like 2, one, pointing in different directions, but they were puny. I mean, I know back in the day they were like, "Whoa, that's a floodlight. Wow, that's a lot of light." But now when you compare them to LEDs, you're like, "All right, that's not really that bright." So I'm glad I got these replaced. It didn't take long. Took me about an hour to replace all 4 corners, 2 wires inside. Just main thing, turn the power off. All I needed was 1 screwdriver and a ladder, and that was it. I tested it out. I even made a video, put it on YouTube. I'm like, "Hey, this is how you do this." Haha. So I don't know. I'm always feeling like I talk to people and they go, "Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Yeah, I don't know how to do that either." And I'm like, "Look it up on the internet. There's all kinds of stuff." I'm playing this game right now. I've talked about it before on my Nintendo Switch, the Legends of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The game's 4 years old, and there's all kind of helpful videos on YouTube that people have made. And I've gotten to the point now where I go inside these shrines to do these problems, these puzzle solving problems, and I'll get into it, and I'm like, I don't want to watch the video. I want to see if I can do it on my own. And I'll go and I'll experiment and mess around and I'll spend way too much time into it. But I learn how to do it a lot of times just figuring it out, which is what the game was meant to be. And then sometimes I get into one that's super complex and I'll be in there for a long time and finally just go, all right, fine. I'll watch the video and I'll watch the video. And it's super helpful because someone's like, all you got to do is this. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that. God. So they're teaching you along the way. It's shared information, right? That's the coolest. It's the coolest. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. I have some updates coming. I have a guy I went to high school with and was in the Marine Corps with, Eddie Bacon, here from Florence, South Carolina. He has always been a skateboarder since as far as I've remember ever seeing him in high school. And now that we're in our late 40s, he's skateboarding a lot. And he's had a lot to do with Florence getting a revitalized skate park built. And he's bought this Insta360 camera with this neat bullet time selfie stick thing. And the videos and stuff that he's putting up on Instagram and YouTube and stuff is just beautiful. Not YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. He's all over that stuff. And he's putting up these beautiful shots of him and his buddy skateboarding. And it's so cool. It is and he's all the time like, oh my God, I can't believe how good this camera is. You guys got to check this out. And I'm like, I started texting him like, hey, what is the camera? I got to find out what are you using? I want to play with something like this. So I said all that to say this. I got the bullet time bundle thing for the selfie stick, the invisible stick they call it. Somehow this camera, when you're using it, has some technology in it where it does not see the selfie stick. I know it's crazy, but you're going to see videos of me coming up playing with this thing. I've got a Jeep trip planned with Danny Shaw. We're supposed to go to Myrtle Beach to Jeep Jam on Halloween weekend. And so I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to figure out how to film us on the Jeep, and it's going to be cool. And if it works like I think it'll work, I see me playing with this a lot. So stick around for that. And thanks for listening. And I appreciate every one of you listening to the podcast and talking about the podcast and talking to me about the podcast. And please, if you're enjoying this, let me know. And if there's something I need to check out, let me know. I like to find cool stuff. I know that everybody's been talking about Ted Lasso on Apple Plus, and I would like Apple Plus, but I can't afford another service. So, I mean, if somebody wants to help me out with the little something, I'd watch it and we could talk about it. Just saying. Just I'm just throw that out there. Just opportunity for us, for you, for me, for the audience, for the world. This is the World Wide Web. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm getting silly now. Thanks for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, share this with everybody, and hopefully it'll help the channel grow. And with it growing, I'll grow and I'll get better, and we can get better, and we can share. And ebony and ivory live together in perfect harmony. All right, that's enough of that. I always end this by saying cue the cow, so cue the cow. Move, baby.
So I want you guys to give me more likes. Give me more likes.